Let's now finish up by taking a quick look at rendering in Cinema 4D. So this is lesson 10 start, and it just has a simple sphere loaded in with a simple material, and we want to now render this. So there are several ways that we can do this. The quickest and easiest would just be to hit Control R to render this within our 3D view. It would be the same thing as hitting our render button right here, or going into the second button and choosing render view. Okay, so we're concentrating on these three buttons right in here. Now the settings that it's going to use to render you can find in our render settings. If we go into general, you can see that we have the render engine. We have output, so we can select a size if we're not rendering into the particular editor that we are, the particular window that we're looking at. We can choose a size for a render. We can choose a name to save that out as. There's also options for multipass rendering, our anti-aliasing. If we want to bump that up, we can change those values here. And if we're doing any sort of global illumination or anything like that, we can find that in here. If you want to learn more about the render settings themselves and getting really nice renders, we do have the interior introduction to rendering and also rendering interiors courses that you can go through and really get up to speed on creating the best looking renders possible here in Cinema 4D. But for now, these are the settings that we'll stick with. And so apart from rendering here in our render or our editor here, you can see that as I click and move around, that render goes away, and then if I wanted to re-render that, I would have to just hit the hotkey combination or hit the button to actually render that. We can also render to the picture viewer. So by clicking on the second button and holding down, I can say render to picture viewer, and that will actually bring up our picture viewer window and render that out within this window. You can see that I can change the magnification that I'm looking at that here. I can also say I want to zoom out or zoom in, choose the magnification over here. This gives us a lot of information about our particular image, including our resolution, and so forth. And so this picture viewer is a powerful tool for you. You can come in and you can start to compare different images that you've created and so forth. You can load images up, save images out from here. So this is another option for creating your renders. Now we can also render just a portion of our model. So let's say we just want to render part of this and see what it looks like, so it's taking too long. We can do a render region. So select render region, select that particular region that we want to render, and you can see that that renders that region. And then the same thing happens here. So it's just like rendering the entire 3D view, except we're rendering just a portion of it. Okay, so we looked at render region, render to picture viewer. Render view is just the same thing as rendering that 3D view. Now interactive render region, if we load that up, you can see that it actually renders this up, but it doesn't look so good. It's a little bit pixelated. We can actually change the quality of this render by clicking on this little arrow on the side and dragging this up towards the top, and that will actually increase the quality of our render. I'll go ahead and drag that all the way up. And this is something where we can change the size of this and it will automatically re-render that. We can also grab it and move it to a different location. The nice thing is that this actually will update as we change elements of our, let's say, material. So we'll go ahead and with our interactive render region up, we will open up our material editor, and I'm going to go into the color and into the tiles, and we can change the color of our tiles here. So let's go ahead and replace this orange with maybe a blue. You can see that update here. We'll go ahead and replace these other colors as well. Create something a little bit with some cooler colors here. Okay, so you can see that our interactive render region has automatically updated whenever we change anything within our material. Okay, so if we were to go in and start to add transparency to that, turn the transparency off, we don't like that, turn on the luminance, you can see that all that gets updated immediately in our interactive render region. If we want to turn off the bump, we can turn that bump off. If we want to take the bump strength and change that, you can see how that all of that automatically updates. So that interactive render region here is going to be a great tool for really quickly changing material looks and so forth, and really getting an immediate feedback on what that is going to look like. Okay, so again, that's just a really quick look at rendering. If you want to go ahead and add lights to this, so we'll turn this off, we can go right over here and choose let's add a spotlight. So right now it's being rendered, we don't have any lights in the scene, so it's just using the default lighting. And so we'll go ahead and add a spotlight. You can see everything goes dark. So we're just using the spotlight. We'll go ahead and move this up, and let's go ahead and rotate this around a bit. Okay, and then just kind of move it over. So now that we have a light in here, we'll go ahead and re-render that. You can see how the light affects our model, and we can move and rotate that light around. Maybe a little bit more up to the top, and just kind of shrink that down a little bit. And so we can just get the illuminated portion here. So adding lighting will let us do that. If we want to maybe add another light, we can go ahead and add another light. This time, instead of moving it around, we'll go into cameras and we'll go to link active object. This will allow us to look through the light, and then we can place it here within our view. So we can come down in here, we can kind of shrink it down a little bit, come down. Okay, we'll go back to our editor camera to see what that looks like. So you can see that that's actually adding light over there on the other side. At any time we can choose the lights, and let's get our interactive render region going so that we can see what this looks like. So at any time we can come in on this first light, let's say, and we'll change the color of the light, make it a little bit more yellow. You can see how that changes there. Let's choose the second light, make it maybe a little bit more blue. You can see how that changes it immediately. So we can really see an immediate effect of those lights on our scene here. We can choose that light, maybe increase the size of that spot a little bit more. Maybe increase that and increase the size of that. Okay, so we can really get a lot of immediate feedback using our interactive render region. Okay, so that's just a quick look at rendering and with adding lights into our scene. Again, if you want to learn more about rendering specifically, we do have the introduction to rendering and also rendering interiors as well. So this brings us now, I think, to the conclusion of this beginner's guide to Cinema 4D. So if you enjoyed the course and you want to learn more, make sure to check out all the additional courses that we have available at digitaltutors.com.